I believe this is the first YouTube video I've filmed in almost a year and a half. Whoops. Yes, it has been a long time since I have posted, uploaded, really anything. Last year I was really creatively burned out. I was dealing with a very intensive extracurricular and my PhD really went to the next level. So I didn't really have enough mental energy left for making YouTube stuff. So in the latter half of last year, I did a lot of self-assessing and dropped a lot of things that I just wasn't enjoying, did a lot of simplifying of my life so that I have more time to do things that I actually enjoy, like YouTube, for instance. It wasn't that straightforward for me to just pick up YouTube again though, because YouTube takes a lot of effort and thought, and if you're a perfectionist like me, you just want to get everything right. So I gave some thought, perhaps a little too much, into what sort of content I wanted to put out first, what sort of direction I wanted to go in when I picked things up again. But today we're gonna start simple. We're just going to tier rank Asian dramas that I watched in 2022. You might be able to hear that I am nursing a bit of a cold, but around here we don't allow mundane things like illness to keep us from filming. So let me give a little preface to what we're doing today. So if you've been following me for the past few years, you know that I was massively Asian drama pilled since I think the latter half of 2020. I started with C-dramas and then slowly I moved into K-dramas. And in 2022, I would say I watched way more K-dramas than C-dramas. This is not because I now like K-dramas more than C-dramas, it's just that I find K-dramas a lot more digestible. They tend to be only about 16 to 20 episodes long, whereas C-dramas can be anywhere in the ballpark of 30 to 60 episodes. So each K-drama is just a lot less of a time investment, and I can just consume more content that way. Based on an assessment of my MyDramaList account, I have watched 20 dramas in the past year. If I completed it in 2022, I counted it here, and if I started watching it in 2022 and watched the majority but only finished in 2023, I'm also counting it here. So the tiers as I've listed them here are as follows. There is the best. This really includes dramas that I have watched and have not been able to forget. They still impact how I think about other media. I am still retweeting it or reblogging the content on Tumblr. So these would be just the very memorable dramas. Then there's good, which is just very solid quality dramas. Maybe they didn't change my life, but I still thought that they were good in their own right. Maybe they didn't touch me emotionally, but maybe I can see how they would have that impact on other people. Then there's just okay, which I would say are the more mediocre dramas, and there are many of those. And then there's bad, which I think is pretty self-explanatory. And then there's did not finish. And those are just dramas where I started watching them, but I dropped them for whatever reason or another. Maybe I got bored and I just left off, or maybe for some other reason I stopped watching. Maybe I plan to pick them up again. So let's talk dramas. Let's start ranking. First is Descendants of the Sun with Song Joong-ki. I believe I started watching this drama because I had watched Vincenzo and was disappointed with Vincenzo. Controversial opinion. But I wanted to watch more of Song Joong-ki's work. And there was a week when I had COVID, so I wanted a K-drama to watch in that time, and I think I binged the whole thing. It's about a soldier who often gets called on a lot of missions in third world war-torn countries. The female lead is a doctor who gets called on a kind of aid mission to one of these countries. And it's sort of a story where they bond over solving problems in their own way. There's also an element of whether these two can really come together, given that he has such a dangerous career and she's also quite busy. This drama really made me laugh because it was kind of like third world problem of the week. Most of the story takes place in this fictional third world country in the Baltics. So whatever problem you could think of happened. A pandemic, a earthquake. I think there was just so many different disasters that it was just hard to take the show seriously after a while. I think this is just okay. I don't think it really changed my life. It was fun to watch the two leads banter. Next is Love Between Fairy and Devil, or Changnanjue. This was a very hyped up drama. I believe the hype. It was a very good drama. In a lot of ways, it's not a very innovative xianxia drama, but it is a drama that made me realize my current favorite subgenre of xianxia is the one where the conflict between heaven and demons is an allegory for racism. So the title is pretty self-explanatory. There is a fairy who in the hierarchy of heaven is quite low, and then there's this guy. I don't think they even clarify what sort of race of beings they are. Are they devils? I feel like that's just a title that's bestowed because heaven doesn't like this group of people. But in any case, they are a group of magical beings who are discriminated against by heaven, and Wang Hedi plays the sort of supreme leader of these people. He's been imprisoned for I don't know how many thousand years. She accidentally opens up his prison and shenanigans ensue and romance develops. You get the gist. It definitely starts out quite ridiculous, but eventually the stakes become quite clear and become quite high, and I think the rules of the world actually solidify themselves very well, such that you felt like not much was done because of a convenience. You just had the characters operating very much within the constructs of their world, trying to circumvent that. But then the world of the show just comes in and says, no, you cannot have both this and that. You cannot both have the person you like and also fix all of the problems. You have to pick one. So yeah, I was surprisingly emotional when I watched this drama. And of course, it really helped that the production value was just... The CGI is great, the costuming is great, the sets are really nice, just a very aesthetically pleasing production. So I will put it in the best. It's not critically perfect, but emotionally to me, that's where it belongs. So now we have Kingdom Season 1. So I had been told for ages, watch Kingdom, watch Kingdom. If you like Korean dramas, watch Kingdom. So finally I sat down and watched it, and it was a good decision. This show hits very different post-2020. So basically it's a historical horror zombie drama. It takes place during the Joseon era because almost every Korean historical takes place during the Joseon era. There is a zombie epidemic, a lot of human stupidity ensues, a lot of political infighting ensues. Just a really good illustration of human behavior during disaster. So I will also put that in the best. It was a really excellent season. Now we have Kingdom Season 2, which was also pretty good, but I just personally don't find it as memorable or emotional. There's still a lot of interesting political shenanigans going on and a lot of interesting expansions on the zombie lore, but overall I remember a lot of moments from season 1, whereas I just don't have that with season 2. So I'm just gonna put that in good, at the front of good. Legend of Fae. So Legend of Fae, You'll Fei. It's one of those dramas that I only considered watching because of Wang Yibo. I think when I told my friend that I was watching this show, she was like, why would you do that to yourself? It's essentially a wuxia drama, but there's all these factions I can't keep track of. There's too many MacGuffins that I'm also having trouble keeping track of. Each character's personal affiliations and loyalties, it's all kind of a mess, so I'm putting that in did not finish. Now I will say that Wang Yibo himself is actually quite good in this drama. I heard from other people that he was kind of just phoning it in. I don't think so. I think he's quite fun, actually. On the other hand, Zhou Liying, I think, is much weaker as a performer here, which is a shame because I've heard she's quite a good actress. I just find her very bland for some reason. I don't really latch onto her as a character. So yeah, really, I got bored with Legend of Fae. I might pick it up again, never say never, but for now it's not really a drama of interest to me. So now we have Love and Redemption, or Liuli. I watched this with my housemate Amelia. I think it took us the better part of last year to watch it in its entirety. I think it's 59, 60 episodes. If I were not watching this drama with someone, I don't think I could have finished it. I probably would have dropped it within the first 10 episodes or so because it takes that amount of time to really get anywhere. But then I think around episode 20 or 21, things got just weirdly kinky. Everyone has whips and chains and people are getting off on getting hit. I don't really support a lot of aspects of the romance. I think they play the miscommunication trope to death. I think they play the trope of, oh, I'm not gonna tell this person this really vital piece of information so that they won't get hurt or overly involved. They rely on that stuff so much. And then there were other potentially very interesting couples that they were teasing, but then they never paid any of those off. So this was a very fun drama to laugh at, and there were some really nice aesthetically pleasing moments, and you know, some episodes were fine and very well paced, but most of it is it's not great. So I'm gonna put it in just okay. It's not quite bad. Ooh, I don't know if it's bad, but it's not a good drama. I don't recommend it unless you just really want something to have fun with a friend. So next up we have My ID is Gangnam Beauty. I watched this drama over the Christmas holiday. I think I finished the last 2 episodes in the beginning of 2023. It's about this university student called Kang Mi-rae who's had a lot of extensive plastic surgery because she was born so-called conventionally ugly. She's gone through a lot of bullying, so she believes that having plastic surgery to be conventionally beautiful will change her life, make her life easier. Of course, things aren't that simple because by nature of being conventionally good looking, she gets a lot of attention. There's a lot of speculation around how much work she's had done, what did she look like prior to having work done if she did. This is also my 3rd drama I've watched with Cha Eun-woo. He seems to be cast in this very specific character type where he is the hot guy in school who likes the ugly girl, but most importantly likes her when she is ugly, accepts her for who she is in her entirety. That's a very specific character type. I don't know how he's managed to play this sort of character multiple times. In this type of contemporary drama, he seems to play this sort of character who's very stoic and admired by everyone and then slowly reveals an emotional side. Personally, I don't find this performance from him very interesting. I'm sure people cast him this way because he's very good looking, but personally it doesn't resonate with me very much. I'm really done with overly stoic Asian men, and I'm not saying he's bad at playing this sort of role, it's just that it's just not a very interesting role for me to watch. I like to see him express a wider range of vulnerabilities and emotions. So the other drama that you might hear me referencing is True Beauty. We'll discuss that drama in a bit, but I almost would have been better off watching this drama first and then watching True Beauty, because True Beauty has a very similar concept, but I found this drama, Gangnam Beauty, a lot less interesting for a wide range of reasons. The primary reason is that Kang Mi-rae is just not a very interesting character. I find her to be very passive, just very reactive. I know they're going for a very timid character type who eventually finds her confidence, but it frankly took too long to get there, and there are more interesting ways to do that. The show also has this really ludicrous portrayal of perfume chemistry. So Kang Mi-rae, her aspiration in life is to become a perfume chemist. She likes working in perfume, and so she decides to become a chemistry major so she can work in that industry. And there's a few episodes where they're at some perfume workshop, and I'm like, this is not what a perfume chemist does. Perfume chemists do not mix scents together. Maybe they try to synthesize compounds that will make a perfume more long-lasting, but a perfume chemist's concerns do not include the combination of scents. That's totally another person's job. So the drama does want to talk about important social themes. It wants to talk about how being good-looking is used as social capital. It wants to talk about gender equality in the workplace. It also wants to discuss the consequences of bullying. It wants to touch on political corruption. But frankly, I don't think it takes these themes to very interesting places. It's like, oh, this girl has a stalker, and this stalker, you know, takes photos of her, but you know, it's cool. It's resolved. We're not gonna explore the trauma around that or anything. Even on the subject of plastic surgery and how that is used to improve a person's situation in life, I felt that wasn't aptly explored explored. I think there's a point where Kang Mi-rae's dad finds out that she did have cosmetic surgery and he was against it. She and her mom had it done without his consent and he's upset about it. And we never really explored why he was upset, why this particular decision made him so distraught. Was it an invalidation of the assets that he gave her? We never explored this. So yeah, I think this drama wanted to make sort of capital I important statements, but just didn't explore them properly or with enough justice. So it's gonna go in okay. It's not quite bad, but it's not great. Should it go above Love and Redemption? I think it goes above Love and Redemption. It's not as ridiculous. Next is Mystic Pop-Up Bar. I did not finish this drama. There's no particular reason I didn't finish it. It's actually got a very interesting concept. It's very similar to Hotel de Luna. There's this local witch who is able to go into a person's dreams and help them essentially get therapy. And for reasons that you find out in the course of the drama, she has to do this for 10,000 souls. This is a punishment for things that she done. But yeah, I'm enjoying this. I've actually picked up this drama again. Again, there's no particular reason I haven't watched it. I think I just got invested in other dramas I was watching at the time. Next up, Rookie Historian, Gu Hae-ryung. So this was the first drama I watched with Cha Eun-woo. So Cha Eun-woo in this drama is a very naive and sheltered second prince. He's not really a prince of much political consequence. And then there's the female lead, Gu Hae-ryung, who wants to escape a conventional life of marriage and being tethered to a man, and decides to get a role as a female historian who can access some more private female circles of the court. I believe this drama takes place in the late 1700s or early 1800s. And if this drama is to be believed, the historian was an important historical role in the court who recorded all aspects of court life, what the emperor did, who he met with. And here in this drama, they recruit female historians to record the female spheres of court life. It's an interesting drama about keeping people in power accountable. Definitely one of those dramas that it wants to talk about modern ideas, but in a historical setting, but also makes it a little bit obvious. It at times is not even really trying for historical accuracy. In spite of that, I did enjoy the drama immensely. I think my only real issue with the drama was that the pacing was a little whack. I think each historical drama has a bunch of writers, and each writer is in charge of a different theme or aspect of a story. There's one person in charge of romance, there's one person in charge of political intrigue. I think sometimes in the power struggle, not every theme gets even screen time. So I felt this drama was quite heavy on the romantic development for the first, I don't know, of 13, 14 episodes or so, and then it delves straight into all of this political intrigue. It was like if you mix a drink and all of the liquor just sank to the bottom and all the sweet stuff floated to the top. It was kind of like that because all of a sudden the political plot moved at this breakneck speed and we had a whole kingmaker plot. I think this is gonna go in good. Overall, I did really enjoy the show. Those things didn't really interfere with me really liking it. Now, I'm very late, but I only watched Squid Game last year. I think everyone by now knows what Squid Game is about. I don't think you need me to tell you. And yes, it was very famous for a reason. I do think that a couple plot threads got dropped. I think they tried for a commentary on capitalism that felt a bit unsubtle. So those aspects for me fell pretty flat, but overall, the intrigue was great. The suspense was great. It's a very well-filmed production. So for now, I'm gonna put it at the top of good. The next one I debated about whether to even include this because this is technically a film. This is The Living Dead, which is a spin-off film from The Untamed or Chen Xingning. Ultimately, I decided to include it because why not? I want to talk about it. This was bad, but in a fun way. Like, the action scenes are, you know, serviceable. They're fine. There are a lot of Guqin crimes in this film. So the story takes place post-canon. We're focusing on Wenying and Lan Sijue as they try to solve a series of ghostly events in a local area. I think there are just so many lost character opportunities in this film. Spoilers for The Untamed, but these two characters are actually related. Lan Sidhui was adopted by the Lan clan. He is actually from the Wen clan. So there were so many opportunities for them to explore that newfound relationship, and for Lan Sidhui to actually deal with certain aspects of where he comes from. They both are united by a very big tragedy, so I just can't understand why you would not write these moments in. The ghost case that they were working on didn't really serve their relationship in any way. It wasn't an opportunity for them to particularly bond or have a discourse or conversation about the past or what they have just gone through. There is a really hecking hilarious moment when this film clearly couldn't afford Xiao Zhan, and they couldn't afford to bring him back as Wei Wuxian, so they dress an extra up as Wei Wuxian and just show him from the back. That was so funny. It was supposed to be emotional. I enjoyed it, but not in the way that the filmmakers intended. So yeah, this was bad. Next up, we have The Crowned Clown. This has Yeo Jin-gu, who you might recognize from Hotel de Luna. It's pretty blatantly based on Prince and the Pauper. It's about this street performer who is recruited to be the current king's doppelganger because the current king, for various reasons, is becoming quite paranoid and insane. Basically a massive liability. So one of the top court officials decides to recruit our main character. It's definitely an interesting exploration of power and who should have it and when you should take power away from someone. The show for me was pretty exciting until the last couple episodes. I don't think this drama quite stuck the landing, and frankly, that's everything. I also think the problem of this show is that it uses a very modern sense of morality as a basis for which characters are judged. It's like, oh, this person is a bad leader because he killed this kid who would have been his rival for the throne. But the political reality of the time was sometimes you did kill anyone who was a political liability to you or a threat to you, even if that person was a child. And that didn't necessarily reflect on whether you were a good leader or a moral leader. I also feel like there are a lot of aspects to this plan to replace the king that were just not thought through. Like this head court figure who conceived of this plan in the first place. He says to our main character, yeah, don't sleep with the queen. You should not fall in love with the queen because that is not really your wife. You are not really her husband. It's an immoral thing to have an emotional affair with someone who is not really your wife. And sure, there's a very heavy element of deception to this plan these two have embarked on, but I'm just here thinking, you've got this far, you've already deceived everybody else, you have deceived the queen, and the old king is kind of out of the picture at this point. We are functioning here under a hereditary monarchy. How do you think this system is going to perpetuate itself? Besides, who's gonna really know? They had no DNA testing back then. So somehow there was this plan to just switch the kings around, but then you just weren't gonna have any male heirs? You weren't even gonna try? What is this? So yeah, there are these aspects of the show that I felt like were not well thought through. Kind of broke immersion for me. It's different from Rookie Historian because Rookie Historian knows it's silly. It knows it's not entirely historical, but this show is trying to be an actual immersive picture of the era, and it just didn't sell that to me. So Crowned Clown, I am going to put this under... I'm gonna put this, I think, at the top of okay for now, I think, because it's still better than... I think I like it better than Descendants of the Sun. It's a shame because the production value is very good. And Yeo Jin-gu is very good in this role. He embodies the madness of the original rightful king, and also the naivete of the street performer. I really love this performance. Actually, I'll just put this at the bottom of good. I don't know, it's a little bit in between for me. So now we have Oath of Love with Xiao Zhan and Yang Zi. This was a show that I think I eventually was just hate watching. I watched it, of course, mostly for Xiao Zhan. Xiao Zhan plays a surgeon who is very overworked but is considered the top of his field. Yang Zi is playing an aspiring cellist who is trying to get through, I think, her last year in undergrad. One day her dad gets a cancer diagnosis and has to have a surgical operation, and that is how she encounters Xiao Zhan's character. Now, this show is deeply stupid in many ways, but I think I became fascinated with the specific ways that the show repelled me. There are so many things to get into, but first and foremost, I think this love story does not hang together very well. A romance C-drama, I think it's pretty safe to say it lives and dies by the main couple, and frankly, I was not sold on them narratively. Yang Zi and Xiao Zhan actually have not bad chemistry. It's just that their reason for being together in the first place was just not well developed, actually quite poorly developed. To me, it was just like, okay, you have this undergrad student who has a crush on an older doctor, and this doctor, even though there are so many ethical issues about taking up this relationship, he goes for this anyway. This show just knows very little about both the medical world and the professional music world, and maybe an immersive knowledge of either of these spheres isn't necessarily important, but you have to take the narratives of two characters in a love story and make them somehow connected or parallel. These two just don't have a reason to really be together. I think the show wanted us to see a story of one person who is overworked and a person who offers something fresh and different to him, but they gave this to us in one scene, and from then on we were just supposed to buy them as a couple. I think the drama also wanted to have these narrative questions of whether these two can overcome all of these differences in their lives and personalities and age gap, for that matter. But I don't really see them actually overcome obstacles. They never have to talk through boundaries or how to set up scheduling or how to make up for something if, say, he's, you know, on call for a surgery or something. I think this show is also very afraid to let bad things happen to the main characters, which is just such a rookie mistake. So yeah, it was bad. Next up, we have the Red Sleeve. This was an interesting one because I think a lot of historical dramas, when you have a skewed power dynamic that is very inherent to a couple's relationship. Let's say you have a prince, you have a maidservant, or someone who just works in the court. That power dynamic is inherently skewed, and it is not a good foundation for an equal partnership. And a lot of dramas try to just kind of dismiss that or don't really address that. But the Red Sleeve was just all about that. It was all about how this couple, in spite of caring very much for each other, is essentially doomed from the start because of the inherent nature of their relationship. The female lead is a court lady, the male lead is the crown prince, played by Lee Jun-ho. Their relationship from the start is unequal, and I kept expecting the drama to be like, oh hey, we have this couple and they come together, overcoming lots of circumstances, but you know, they made it out in the end, they have a happy ending, there you go. But then this drama just went, no, this couple just, they're not gonna have an easy time. Their relationship is unequal. It totally is, and we will take that to its natural conclusion. If anything, this drama was such an indictment of love. Perhaps not an indictment as such, but it was definitely an exploration of how love is very much not enough, especially when you have one person who is simply not an ordinary human being. And it's definitely a very harsh picture of how patriarchy destroys both the men and women in that kind of system. But in short, I cried really hard, especially during the last episode. I think all of these different themes really come to a head and they are realized so well. I probably wouldn't watch it again, but it was quite excellent. I'm gonna put it in the best. Right at the top, perhaps below Kingdom. Next up is Touch Your Heart. So if you've watched Goblin, you will definitely recognize these two leads. They were the B couple of Goblin. So these two actors played this couple in Goblin who were just not able to come together for various reasons. They just had too much baggage between them. And then the end of Goblin implies that these two characters reincarnate so they can just start all over again without dealing with so much baggage. They can just start on a clean slate. And unofficially, this drama is that story. In a lot of ways, it's kind of a standard drama. You have a very lively female lead, and then you have a very stoic male lead, and eventually, you know this story, she eventually gets through to the male lead, and he becomes more in touch with his feelings. Like, it was cute. I enjoyed it. I don't have strong feelings about it. I was glad to have closure about that particular couple in Goblin. I enjoyed them a lot. So they're at the top of okay. It was a very fun, inoffensive drama. Okay, so we're finally talking about True Beauty with Cha Eun-woo. This is the drama that I got into because I saw Cha Eun-woo in Rookie Historian and enjoyed him immensely, decided to check out his other work. Like I said, it's not as interesting of a performance from Cha Eun-woo as with Rookie Historian, in my opinion, but he still does this well. But what I did enjoy about this drama versus My ID is Gangnam Beauty, which is a very similar drama, I like that we get to see our female lead actually come to a decision on her own in regards to how to improve her social capital, how to make her life easier. In Gangnam Beauty, the female lead has already made that decision from the outset. She has the cosmetic surgery within the first 5-10 minutes of the drama. We don't really see the precipitating events that finally leads to that decision. And of course, that's not really helped by the fact that she in general is a very passive character. Whereas in True Beauty, we see the female lead come to that decision, take actions to make that decision real. And of course, it really helps that she has this really wacky family that serves as a foil to her and really brings out all of these really interesting character moments. And also what I did appreciate about this drama was that I think there is an acceptance of her original face. The male lead always accepted her so-called real face, but also all the other characters come to accept her as well. And I think the fact that she didn't suddenly change her original face, I think it was very true to the spirit of the show. I will say there was that weird thing that sometimes drama writers do where they just find a random reason to break up the couple near to the end of the show. Maybe like in the penultimate episode they just want some extra drama, and here they did that but not with very much motivation. So the process of the main couple breaking up and coming back together seemed a little bit ham-fisted. So I think I'm going to put this maybe the top of okay. By the way, you might be amused to witness the lighting of this video change throughout. That's because filming this is taking a long-ass time because my camera battery keeps dying. And in that intervening period, the sunlight outside has gone dark. Typically, I rely a lot on light from the window as lighting for my videos. But now I've done the standard Emily thing where I take a light and I point it at the ceiling. I've been doing this channel since 2015, and my lighting solutions, still very low tech. I'm doing my best here. I'm still figuring out the lighting situation for this room. I have not filmed in here, in case you haven't noticed. We're on our last 4 dramas, so let's hope the camera battery lasts till then. So we are on Winter Begonia, which I believe was the first C drama I watched in 2022. This is a very odd one for me because there's a lot of things that I really love. I love a lot of the acting performances from really all of the actors. I really like a lot of the production. Unlike I think a lot of people, I actually enjoyed it musically. But I think a lot of my problems with this drama are with writing, as well as the problems that censorship introduces into the writing. So this drama takes place in 1930s Republican era China. We are in the Beijing opera scene. One of our central characters is a very prominent opera singer who runs an opera troupe, and they're in competition with a lot of other opera groups in the area. Our other male lead is a businessman who really is drawn into the world of opera and decides to invest in the other male character's opera troupe. For a while, I didn't have much of a complaint about where this story was going. I mean, mind you, the two main characters are not very likable, but that's not really a problem for me as long as you can humanize them for me. So the time period of this drama is right on the cusp of the Sino-Japanese War, and actually it begins partway through the drama. And I think how it deals with the story from there on out is my main issue. So while I was watching this, I was trying really hard to not compare this to Farewell My Concubine. Farewell My Concubine is a really famous Chinese film about Chinese opera singers starring Leslie Cheung. And that film portrays quite viscerally what happened to artisans in that period of time. These people were already quite marginalized to begin with, and they had to find ways to survive when the Japanese invaded, and one of the ways these people survived was by performing for the Japanese. It's also hard not to see a LGBT parallel between the two productions. Farewell My Concubine is about a gay man who struggles with that aspect of his identity, and Winter Begonia is based on a BL or boy love novel. So with Chinese censorship, I already knew that this drama was not going to explore that particular angle very deeply. But what does bother me is that the story is very unwilling to deal with a lot of these realities of how wartime really changes people's actions and forms their decision making. And I'm sure this is because censorship just didn't allow these characters to make really morally gray decisions. Because to have two main characters actually have to do things for the Japanese would have been absolutely foreboding. But nonetheless, I think this left the drama in a really bad place, because you can't be like, oh, we're gonna show how bad the Sino-Japanese War was, you know, this traumatic historical event, we are going to portray this, and then not show any of the trauma around that, like atrocities that were committed by the Japanese. The show is just really unwilling to show that. It's like, oh, well, these girls who are going to be trafficked by the Japanese, one of the main characters, he bailed them out. He fixed the problem. It's fine. Doesn't matter. We have something where the main male singer, he has to maybe perform for the Japanese, but then we just get rid of that problem. It's solved. He never has to do it. He never has to make that complicated decision. Maybe this is just the show running into censorship rules, but I think those aspects of writing really hurt the drama in a lot of ways, took away from a lot of the emotional edge. And this is to say nothing of all of the different plot threads and character threads that just simply don't go anywhere. So yeah, I didn't love this drama. Ultimately, because of the writing, it was quite mid. So we're gonna put it on the end of okay. A lot of these aspects that I just talked about, they really bothered me. Now we're on My Love from the Star, which is, I think, the drama that made Kim Soo-hyun really big. If you know K-dramas, you know My Love from the Star. I think even a lot of Hong Kongers I know have already seen it. I think at the time it must have been a very groundbreaking drama. For me, it was just kind of okay. Like, it wasn't bad. It was kind of like Touch Your Heart, where it's just not very offensive. It's fine. It's a typical romance. It's very melodramatic. It is very typically K-drama. So it's alright. I'm not even sure I liked it more than Touch Your Heart. Actually, I don't know. Maybe it's above Touch Your Heart, but most definitely below True Beauty. So we're on Yumi Cells seasons 1 and seasons 2. Yumi Cells was definitely one of the best dramas I've seen. It's basically Inside Out for adults, specifically for adults in their early 30s who are maybe still finding their footing in their careers. It's also about dating in adulthood, which hits quite close to home. So it's a very cute drama, but I think it's also very important in that it portrays women in their 30s. As a woman in my early 30s, I especially appreciated that because I think there's a lot of shifts and changes that happen at that time that sometimes we don't always acknowledge. So I love how it manages to talk about a lot of these different themes like careers, changing jobs, personal uncertainty, existential crisis around dating and getting back into these thought games. The different cells, I think they bring out that kind of conflict really well. I just appreciate shows that bring out that even at an age where you're supposed to be an adult, you still deal with uncertainty and so much self-doubt, and that changes can still happen in your career and in your love life. Now, Yumi Cells Season 2, I have not finished. I think this particular season hit a bit too close to the bone. Season 1 was fine, I identified with it, but Season 2, just something about it, it's too close for comfort. At this point in her story, Yumi has quit her job because she wants to pursue her dream of being a writer. Spoiler, she's still navigating dating life, and she's also dealing with money issues. So it's thematically still quite similar to the previous season, but I think the whole money troubles situation and getting rejected, I think it dragged on just long enough that it became a massive bummer. Just that aspect of it, the money troubles, I think it was just too close to home. It cut straight to the bone. It made me very uncomfortable. Also, the aspect where you have to resist your urges to spend money because you just don't have enough. I couldn't take it. I had to either watch one episode at a time or just not watch it. Net result is that I haven't finished the season. The show is still very good. It's just that there's a lot of aspects of the story that just have massively bummed me out, and I just don't need that in my life right now. Maybe it's just where I'm at with the PhD, but sometimes I just don't need reminders of very specific aspects of my life. And of course, where they're going with her dating life is not much better, because based on what I think they're going to do with the current love interest, I'm not comfortable. I don't know if I can do it. Because all of the events of the previous season of Yumi Cells, I've kind of gone through myself to an extent. But the current progression of Season 2, I think I'm also kind of going through that to a certain extent right now. It's very uncomfortable for me. I will finish it. It is not a bad show. It is not a bad season, but there's a time and place for everything. So that is my ranking of all of the Asian dramas I watched in 2022. Let me know down below if you watched these dramas. Did you agree with me? Disagree with me on any of my judgments? In the meantime, I'll try and get you some content soon. It's just all about the mental health and the time management for me at this point. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. You can follow me on all of my socials, which are linked in my channel profile, and I will see you again soon.